Hi everybody, welcome. We actually just wanted to make a quick video for Mental Health Awareness Month and give out some tips to live a healthier, safer life using wellness. And I have Bryttnee here from A Seat at Her Table joining me. Bryttnee?
Hi everyone, as Jadi said, I'm Bryttnee. I am a co-creator of A Seat at Her Table, which is a space that is dedicated to healing, loving, supporting, and celebrating women of color every single day. Shout out to my co-founder Nancy, who's not here today, but you know, we're here to dive in. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Alright, so actually we have 5 tips to share with everybody, kind of just to live a safer life when it comes to your mental health. So the first tip is being open-minded and knowing that nothing is really wrong with you. There might be something happening, that's out of the norm, but that doesn't really mean that you're flawed or that anything is making you crazy or wrong. So just being open-minded to like the terminology,
Absolutely.
That comes with mental health and kind of like the stigma and everything, the stereotypes that come with it. And knowing that, there's a lot of people going through what you're going through. You're not the only one. So keep an open mind.
Absolutely. And, sometimes having a conversation with someone close also helps, opens your mind up, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to say hey, I've been thinking this lately, right? And you'll be so surprised because usually you run in circles of people who have similar stories to you anyway.
Yeah.
So to be able to hey, I've been feeling this way lately, right? I've had friends who be actually I dealt with that and this is how I went about doing it. So and not feeling afraid someone's gonna judge me or something like that. No, I definitely think one of your first steps is to talk to someone close to you, talk to someone who you feel you can trust and just put it out there. And sometimes you both don't know, right? And and that's okay too, right? Let's just Google everything and slightly self-diagnose ourselves, but what are the next steps that we can do to figure out what we can do to make ourselves better?
I know that I've had conversations with some of my friends that get really crazy and dark, and they confess some things that they have never told anybody else, and just not being scared.
Absolutely.
And kind of not putting that energy onto them because they're trusting you with something very private and close and dark, and not being oh my god, really?
Right.
Because that can also make people just shut down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that I hate is when people say I would have never thought, you look so happy. That's just dismissive and kind of
absolutely deflective.
Yeah, it's not the language that you should be using when you're dealing with somebody's mental health situation.
Absolutely.
Also, that's a really good thing, use being wary of your language.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the times we don't receive certain words well.
Absolutely.
And kind of just being aware and knowing if this is your friend or somebody that you love and you trust, knowing what might be triggering to them. So absolutely. That's the first
open-minded.
Open-minded. All right, so for the second one, I have just being aware of your mental health issues and kind of just knowing that it can be challenging. Sometimes we don't want to admit that something is going on. For me personally, not that I didn't want to, but I couldn't come to terms with having anxiety, right? I was going through a lot. It was my senior year in college. I was working full time. I was getting ready to move to another state, and I just didn't think that anything was actually happening. I just felt in a constant state of anxiety.
Right.
And I was it's nothing. It's just because I'm going through a lot and I'm doing all this stuff. But actually, once I became aware and talked to my friends about it, and my friend Kaylee, who I constantly shout out for saving me.
Mental health buddy.
Yeah. She was kind of not to say that, that anything is wrong, but maybe you should go talk to a professional and just see, feel it out, this happened to me, when I first started college and all that stuff, and just once I became aware, I could actually, move into my healing journey.
Absolutely.
So just
so
being
beautiful.
aware. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. I think definitely awareness plays a key part in your journey and how you started, right? And I also think that people, you shouldn't be afraid to if you're feeling off, right? It comes with the open-mindedness. It's hand in hand. You want to be aware of, how your body's feeling, the thoughts you're having, right? And if you feel it's not you or something's different, then I definitely feel you should, have a conversation with yourself first. And then
that's important.
Right?
Being honest with yourself.
Right. Is right up there, the first step of awareness. And then seek friends or professional help completely, because what's worse than letting it carry on longer than what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right? Let's not be afraid. Let's have these conversations.
Right, yeah. And I think that's what we're trying to get started also with like our brand and our podcast, and this video is kind of just like making it like a thing to just talk about it, because a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
Absolutely. And I just think of a cultural aspect.
Yeah, it's definitely a cultural thing. But
both women of color, right? Like, I just think our community sometimes, like, because we deal with so much all the time, we're like, what is something we can sweep underneath the rug that people can't see, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
that's one that we should not be.
Right, exactly. Like,
when that shit blows up,
right? It's a wrap, right?
Yeah.
I actually read this quote on Instagram, and it was something to the effect of, if only people could see like your emotional scars, then they would take your journey more seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like, people do, like what you were saying before, like, don't just say, oh, you look so happy. Like, I would never think anything like that, right? But people do have like this emotional journey, your emotional scars, and like, you can't see them, but you should really, like, if someone's coming to you, like, it's because they need to come to you, they want to talk to you about that. So
also like the toxic positivity, like, I am so not about that, because so many people like to say, like, just try harder, or just be happy, like, just be positive, and I'm like, that's not realistic.
Absolutely.
It's not like, you can't just tell somebody, like, just be happy.
That doesn't work.
Yeah,
or I would be happy, right?
Exactly. I'm like, oh, really? Wow, I never thought of that. Oh, I'm gonna try that now. So definitely being aware of, like, you're also, because a lot of people don't, I don't think that people really say stuff like that to be, hurtful or dismissive, but just kind of like understanding that that's not realistic.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you.
And this is kind of like a segue into the third tip, which is your healing journey, and just knowing that your journey is going to be different from everybody else's. Like I said, my friend told me, like, this worked for me, just try it out. If it doesn't, like, you can try something else. But also not being discouraged by starting a journey, or like getting help, or talking and not feeling better.
Absolutely.
Right after.
Absolutely.
Because it's a process.
A long process. Right?
I feel like I'm still working on it. Like, a lot of the times you have these dips.
Absolutely.
And kind of have to catch yourself in them. So not being like, oh, but I'm seeing a therapist and I don't feel better, or I'm taking medication and nothing is working. Like, just,
it's a journey. It's a journey. Like, it's an entire journey. It's a life journey. Right?
And it's not pretty.
Right.
The whole journey.
No.
Like, it's not what you see, what some people like to portray, like all butterflies and rainbows.
Right.
It's gonna get ugly, especially like mirroring, looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, and facing your trauma.
It's one of the hardest things to do, right?
Girl. And like, also realizing that people or stuff that you love might be the root of the issue.
That's so hard.
That shit hurts.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's part of the journey. Like, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be like, instant, but it'll be worth it.
Absolutely.
In the long run.
Absolutely. And I mean, just to segue closer, like, into the healing journey is, like, there's different ways in which people heal, right? Yeah. Like, everyone's journey is different. Like, we're here from the start. Everybody's journey throughout life is different. So, like, whether you look for a professional, you seek to seek professional help, or talk to a friend who's a good listener, or from personal experience, dealing with healing spaces, right? Like, Harriet's Apothecary is this space where in Brooklyn, where you have women of color, transgender, cisgender women who come into a space and have their own trainings and are willing to, like, open up, and you have these conversations, you get more in touch with not only your mind, but also, like, your body. Like, it's just so much more to it than just, like, saying, like, oh, the therapist didn't work, right? It's like on Google, like Google Maps, you put something in, and if something is like, you can't go this way, you figure out another way to do it, right? And, like, so you just have to put your Google Maps on real quick, right? Like, and like, hey, this therapist really isn't working for me. I feel like we're not connecting, and it doesn't mean, like, you can't be healed, or, like, your journey's over there. No, I definitely think it's a space for you to say, let me step back and see if, like, yoga works, or meditation, right? Or, like, going to a healing space, or talking to someone different, right?
Or writing stuff down.
Express myself through other mediums of, like, art. Like, so much we could do, right? I feel like people shouldn't get, like, hung up on feeling like you have to just seek professional help. And, like, that's it, right?
And that's not realistic either, because a lot of people can't afford to.
Right.
You can't afford to, like, pay for therapy. And, like, for example, like for me when I was in college, it was free, but like they give you one therapist, and like whether you like that person or not, that's who you're gonna see.
Right.
And not that I didn't like her, I just didn't feel like that connection. You know, when you meet somebody and like I knew she was smart and I knew she was like helping me, but I couldn't relate to her and she couldn't relate to me with a lot of things, which kind of like disconnected a little bit of like, you know, our sessions. So actually therapy was like one of the many factors in my healing process. Like, yeah, it was important, but it wasn't like the whole thing. Like actually coming to terms with, you know, my mental health and being, you know, open-minded and being honest with myself and honest with my family and people close to me, and also being honest with like the people who were being toxic, the people who like were kind of just like, you know, not helping. And being honest with myself and being like, all right, you need to cut this person off. Like, it's family or somebody you love, it's your friend, it's been your friend for forever, but like, they're not helping you. So that's really hard.
I think it's so hard being real with yourself. Like, you have a relationship with someone, you feel like you know them, you feel like you've accepted them for who they are, and then like when you realize like they could be the source of like your negativity in your life, it's so hard for you as a person like to come to terms with that. I don't think anyone just wakes up like, oh, she's the reason why, and I cut her off. Like, it's so difficult, right? So that's why it is a journey. It's like you take time to kind of like really grapple with, how do I, you know, if I do want them out of my life, how do I get them out of my life, right? Without like messing up relationships or like making things awkward. So,
and like I can't force anybody. Like I can't be like, okay, I love you, I want you to stay in my life, so I need you to take care of your shit,
right?
So we can be friends, right? Because a lot of people are gonna be like, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with me, and that just causes a whole other thing. So like, kind of just being like coming to terms and being at peace with yourself and being like, I just don't need this.
Absolutely.
It's hard, but once you get to that point, there's like no turning back. The following step is acceptance, and like I said, just accepting that you're gonna live with something. For example, like me, accepting that I was gonna live with anxiety, and just kind of knowing when it's coming on, knowing like what triggers it and what's gonna make me feel anxious, and being like, all right, if I'm already in the hole and I'm like, okay, I need to know what's going on, I know what I'm feeling, I know what's causing this feeling, and I'm gonna try to fix it instead of just like panicking over the fact that I'm panicking. You know, just accepting that, you know, this is something that's a part of you. It's not the best part of you. It's not gonna be like, you know, the thing you throw in people's face, like, this is my favorite personality trait about myself. But knowing that it's there and that you have to live with it, and just kind of learning to live with it instead of live your life trying to fight it.
Right, absolutely. That's just with it, not against it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think, and I have to agree with you totally, is that accepting when you get to that step, right? Because like it's a whole mess of emotions of trying to like figure things out, and like things don't go in order. It's like, maybe I'll start my healing journey. Well, you haven't accepted like, you know, what you're dealing with.
Yeah, you can't heal if you don't know what's going on.
What you're healing, exactly. Like, no matter yoga, no matter like, you know, meditation, like, you know, you kind of do need to like hone in on yourself and like say, you know, and accept what's going on, and accept the fact that you're probably going to need like to reach out to people and have difficult conversations with people and yourself. But definitely I feel like, you know, as they say, like, first accept it, and then like your journey, you know, it can really begin. For the last tip, I actually just have, you know, consistency, and just like being consistent. Once you've found, you know, you've been through all of these steps, you've found out what you like and, you know, what makes you feel better, and kind of just trying to stay consistent in those things, because life changes, you know. You know, you go through shifts, you know, you switch jobs, you graduate college, you're suddenly, you know, an adult now, or you have children and stuff like that. Like, stuff is going to change, but try to keep consistency when it comes to like your mental health. Absolutely. At least. Like, even if it's just doing like a you know, a self check-in every now and then. Like, just checking in, like, am I okay? Like, I actually, after starting like therapy, I started to be like, kind of just like self-reflecting. Like, it's good to talk to somebody and they hear you out and then they say something back, but like when you go home and you actually think about the conversation and just like what you said and like kind of reflect and go back, it's
it's like a therapy part too.
Right. And it's so powerful though.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
you have to get to that space. Like, even if it's talking to your friend, like, sometimes I'll talk, like, I used to talk to my friends, and then I used to go back and say, like, you know, I shouldn't have said that. Like,
right.
I'm very, like, hard on myself, and I used to have this, like part of, like, my personality used to be, like, making fun of myself. Like, just saying stuff about, like, oh, I'm such a hot mess, I'm so unorganized, or, like, you know, clumsy as ever, or whatever, or, like, you know, my life is in shambles. Right. Like, kind of in a joking way, but you say it so much that it becomes,
it really is in shambles,
yeah,
right?
And, like, that shouldn't be your staple. Like, that shouldn't be, you know, what defines you.
Consistency is, like, I feel like out of all of them that we listed, like, consistency is definitely, like, the top one or two, like, you know, for challenging, like, trying to get things done. But just because it's challenging doesn't mean, you know, you can't get it done. It's just, like, you just have to put in, like you said, that conscious effort to, like, make sure that you're like, no, of everything else, I'm gonna make sure that I'm taking some type of, like, self-care, or you know, that I'm on my healing journey, that I'm doing consistent things, whether it is, like you said, just checking in with yourself. And I have to say, like, having or for myself, like, of going to therapy, and then not currently being in therapy, but to, you know, self-reflective, like, if anything else, I always do that, right? Like, and sometimes, like, I'm in a mood where I'm just like, oh man, I was wrong, like, after having a conversation with myself and, like, looking at all the dynamics, and the other times I'm like, nah, I was right, like, still working to be the bigger person, but, like, you know, consistency definitely does play a large role in your journey, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you for being here.
Of course. And I just want to put a plug in for our website.
Of course, go ahead.
So hi, I'm Bryttnee. Like I said earlier, I'm the co-creator of A Seat at Her Table, which is a space that is dedicated to loving, healing, supporting, and celebrating women of color every day. Once again, shout out to my co-founder, co-creator Nancy. And our website is www.seatathertable.com. Thank you.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, let us know in the comments. We'll definitely do some more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is fun.
Right? This is so fun.
We're just talking. Yeah, very therapeutic. Hopefully this is of help to you guys out there. We just wanted to have a conversation and normalize it, and just help anybody, you know, kind of feel like, you know, that you're not alone, and we might be going through some similar stuff, you know, everybody's going through something.
Absolutely.
So we wanted to just sit down and have a conversation to bring this to you guys for mental health awareness. And like our mission says on our website at live-wolf.com, we're coming together to help one another achieve our goals. So this is what we're doing. We're walking in our purpose. So thank you guys for watching. See you next time.